Hey, howdy, hey, and welcome back to Behind the Frames. Today we're diving into one of Disney's most magical modern fairy tales, Tangled. Released in 2010, this film instantly captured hearts with its stunning animation, unforgettable characters, and songs we can't help but sing along to. Tangled follows Rapunzel, an 8-year-old princess stolen from her family and locked away in a hidden tower by the cunning mother Gothel. But everything changes the moment Rapunzel finds the courage to leave and finally see the world for herself. From discovering freedom for the first time to experiencing adventure and even love, her journey remains one of Disney's most iconic stories. And today, we're diving into 25 weird facts you probably never knew about this incredible film. Before we begin, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It gives me tons of motivation to keep making more Disney videos for you. Now let's get started. 1. She's a very old lady. It's a known fact that Mother Gothel is a pretty old woman. After all, that's why she wants the power of the magic golden flower to stay young and beautiful forever. But do we know just how old this woman is? Well, the truth is in the dress. If you look closely at Mother Gothel's dress, you'll notice it's in a much different style than Rapunzel's. That's because it's in the style of the Renaissance era. So we know for a fact that Mother Gothel has been alive since at least the Renaissance. Considering Tangled is supposed to take place around the late 1700s and the Renaissance started in the 1300s, this lady has been around for over 400 years. No wonder she turned to dust when Rapunzel's hair was cut. 2. This movie was not cheap. You can't deny that Tangled is an absolutely gorgeous movie. Between the amazingly smooth animation of Rapunzel's hair that they had to develop a whole new software for, the breathtaking scenery and the vibrant colors, this movie is just a treat to look at. And don't even get me started on the music. Considering it was the first Disney princess movie to be made in computer 3D, it looks and sounds just spectacular. Well, there's a reason behind that. Making Tangled cost Disney over $260 million. That makes it one of Disney's most expensive films, right behind Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. Considering Tangled made almost $600 million, I think it was well worth the cost. Sometimes you have to pay the high price in order to make something truly amazing. 3. Things got pretty intense. While there were a lot of crazy things that happened in the Disney princess movies, they were all pretty benign when it came to ratings. In fact, all of the previous Disney princess movies were rated G. Snow White surprises me. That movie is actually pretty freaky, and then Tangled came along. Tangled is the first Disney princess movie to be rated PG. To be fair, there is quite a bit of action going on in this movie, as well as references to violence and mortality. And there's that part where Eugene gets stabbed by Mother Gothel, and there's actual blood. That's probably the sole reason why the rating got upped. There is a good reason why this movie is rated PG, though I'd probably put it on the lighter end of PG movies. 4. She's got the power. Despite their fame, most Disney princesses are actually pretty ordinary people. Their talents often included making friends, being able to sing, and things like that. You do have some princesses with more unique skills like Mulan and her combat abilities and Belle and her extensive literature knowledge, but for the most part, the Disney princesses are fairly ordinary. But then there's Rapunzel. The fact that she has crazy long hair is unique in of itself, but then throw in magic powers and you've got one unique Disney princess. The fact is, Rapunzel is the first Disney princess to have supernatural powers. No other princess before her has had anything like that. While she doesn't use this power a ton on her journey, it's still there, and it's a marker of why Mother Gothel was so obsessed with her.
Yes.
5. The hair's a heavy burden. People with long hair can all agree that it can get heavy sometimes, especially if you have particularly thick hair. I know my head always feels so much lighter when I go for a shorter haircut. Now, can you imagine how poor Rapunzel felt with her massive amounts of hair? Just how much did that weigh? Well, according to Disney, Rapunzel's hair weighs 10.4 pounds. Holy cow, that must mean Rapunzel has a neck of steel. Seriously, how did she handle having that much hair? I'd probably go insane though. I've always been more of a short hair person. You can only imagine how much lighter she felt when Eugene cut it, though her mind was probably on other things at that. But yeah, Rapunzel definitely has a lot of neck strength thanks to her crazy hair.
Years of asking.
6. She's not as smart as you'd think. Mother Gothel is known for being fairly clever and manipulative. This is a lady who gets by more on her wits, though if you put a knife in her hand, she's just as dangerous. But with all her smarts, her big goal when it came to staying young forever was a bit short-sighted. Eventually, Rapunzel is going to perish, and then what will Gothel do? Yeah, when she had the flower, everything was fine, but since the powers transferred to a human being, Mother Gothel's plan to steal the child and raise it as her own was a bit short-sighted. Because eventually, Rapunzel is going to perish, and then what will Gothel do? Her plan to just keep Rapunzel isolated from everyone kind of makes sense, but it doesn't benefit her ultimately. Unless Rapunzel turns out to be immortal from the flower, now that would be an interesting plot twist. 7. Do not get on her bad side. We know Mother Gothel isn't a good person. She manipulates Rapunzel, she makes a dubious deal with the Stabbington brothers, and she stabs Eugene, almost eliminating him. Well, he did technically perish, but was brought back through flower power, you know, Disney stuff. But I don't think we've realized just how high the crime count is for Mother Gothel. Mother Gothel has been around for a long time and keeping the magic healing flower to herself. By doing so, she refused to help those that could have benefited from the flower. In a way, Mother Gothel has been indirectly responsible for countless passings over the centuries because she refused to share the healing power of this magic golden flower. Dang, we know this lady was bad, but this is pretty crazy. 8. He was going to look very different. It's amazing how a little chameleon can be so expressive without having to say a single word. Pascal is both adorable and sassy as Rapunzel's companion, and he shows his loyalty to Rapunzel over and over. We couldn't imagine this movie without our favorite little green chameleon. Can you imagine Pascal as a squirrel? But did you know that Pascal originally wasn't going to be a chameleon? In fact, he was supposed to be a squirrel in the early plans of the movie. Can you imagine Pascal as a squirrel? What's even crazier is that when they changed his design to a chameleon, he wasn't going to be green but purple instead. Personally, I'm glad Pascal is a chameleon, mostly because Disney hadn't done a reptile animal sidekick before. But how on earth did he come to be Rapunzel's pet?
You'll know it when you smell it.
9. This scene was going to be much louder. The floating lantern scene is probably one of the most iconic scenes in Tangled, if not all of Disney. It's a gorgeous scene that leaves you sitting there with your jaw open as you take in the sights. If there is a festival anything like what we see in Tangled, I want to go to it. But did you know that the Lantern Festival was going to be very different? The movie originally had it that fireworks would go off every year on Rapunzel's birthday, but then the story artist John Ripa came up with the idea to do lanterns instead of fireworks. He pitched the idea to John Lasseter, who loved it, and the rest is history. I'm glad they went with lanterns instead. Fireworks are nice, but there's just something about millions of lanterns in the sky that's both awe-inspiring and rather soft. It fits the movie well. 10. This couple has quite the gap. You have to admit that Rapunzel and Flynn are a very sweet couple. Yes, they had the cliché of getting together only after a few days, but those days did consist of the two actually getting to know each other, saving each other from danger, and just going through a lot. I'd feel a lot closer to someone after all that too. Anyway, they're still a cute couple. But did you know there's a pretty big age gap between the two? Apparently Eugene is 26, while Rapunzel just turned 18. That's an 8-year gap, making it the biggest age gap of all the Disney couples. It is slightly creepy if you think about it, that Eugene is quite a bit older than Rapunzel. But at least they didn't get married right away. 11. The project took a while to get going. Glenn Keane, a supervising animator at Disney, had the idea of adapting Rapunzel back in 1996. It wouldn't be until 2001 that Keane was able to pitch the idea to Michael Eisner, then the CEO of Disney, and get approval to go ahead with the film. 12. One bit of animation was tough. There was one big issue for Tangled during the animation. Namely, they couldn't figure out how to animate hair satisfactorily. For a Rapunzel story, that's a problem. Software engineer Kelly Ward spent 6 years writing computer programs to try and get the hair right. In fact, it wasn't until March 2010 that they finally figured it out. The movie, by the way, came out in November 2010. 13. They're the strong silent type. We don't really know too much about Rapunzel's parents, other than they're the king and queen of Corona. The queen nearly perished when she was pregnant with Rapunzel, and they were absolutely heartbroken when Rapunzel was taken. It probably doesn't help that we never hear them say a word throughout the movie. It's still impressive that we can see all the emotions they go through even though they never say a word. It's true, the king and queen have zero dialogue throughout Tangled. The most we hear from them is when the king does a little joyful laugh when they find Rapunzel. That being said, it's still impressive that we can see all the emotions they go through even though they never say a word. That scene before they light the lanterns is a beautifully poignant one, showing that even after all these years, they're still hurting and missing their daughter. Sometimes you don't need words. 14. This kingdom has a real-world inspiration. Since the beginning, Disney has taken inspiration from the real world, whether it's studying animals to see how they move, to taking inspiration from real locations. Did you know that when they did The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Disney had the staff travel to Paris in order to study the cathedral? In the case of the Kingdom Corona, it also has a real-world inspiration. Corona is based on the city Mont Saint-Michel, which is in Normandy, France. The area is basically a small town on an island with a huge monastery at the top. It's a very striking area, and I can see why Disney decided to base Corona on this unique place. Admittedly, Corona is quite a bit bigger than Mont Saint-Michel, but you can tell it was the source of inspiration. 15. Maximus used a Roman sword in a fight with Flynn. In the scene where Maximus fights Flynn, it appears that Maximus has a Roman sword that he uses for when things go south. This is a nice touch to the movie, as Maximus is a famous fictional character in the Gladiator movie. Moreover, the name happened to mean greatest, which goes exceptionally well with Maximus's personality, am I right? 16. Easter eggs in Tangled. We all know how Disney likes to hide little clues, or shall I say, Easter eggs, from their previous works in movies. Tangled is not an exception. Pinocchio was hiding away during the Snuggly Duckling scene. Rapunzel had painted the staircase in her tower with symbols from other Disney movies, like an apple for the Snow White, a slipper for Cinderella, a rose for Belle, and a shell for Ariel. As well as that, Rapunzel and Eugene themselves appeared in Frozen when Arendelle's gates finally reopened for Elsa's coronation. 17. All my friends are heathens. It's pretty funny that the first friends Rapunzel makes after leaving the tower are a group of ruffians and thugs, but their whole musical number was pretty awesome. And in the end, having these guys as friends ended up saving both Rapunzel and Eugene. But we also can't forget that even though these guys all have that fun, roguish charm, they're also criminals that have harmed people. The guy with the hook pretty much did everything but blatantly say he ended someone. And let's not forget the guy with blood in his mustache. It's safe to assume that pretty much all of Rapunzel's new friends are also likely criminals. But it does come in handy to have a bunch of hardened criminals on your side who are secretly softies at heart. 18. How was he not in a body cast? It's safe to say that this movie was not very kind to Eugene Fitzherbert, aka Flynn Rider. He goes through a lot. He was hunted by the royal guards, was chased by the Stabbington brothers, almost drowned, cut his hand, was stabbed by Mother Gothel, and then perished, temporarily. But considering what else happens, Eugene should have had a lot more injuries. There are a few instances that probably should have given him at least a couple of broken bones. That whole scene where Rapunzel stuffed him in the dresser should have broken his hand at least. And let's not forget that moment at the dam where he slams into a wooden beam. He should have had a few broken ribs. Now maybe he does have those injuries and they just didn't show them, but seriously, he probably should have been a lot worse off. 19, and it's back. At the end of Tangled, Rapunzel's long blonde hair is cut. Her hair then turned brown, and she instead sports a nice pixie cut. You'd think that she would be a brunette forever after that, and that we'd never see her crazy long hair ever again. But did you know that the hair came back? In the Tangled Before Ever After movie, Rapunzel's long blonde hair somehow grows back. Apparently, when she went to the place where the flower originally grew, her hair came back. While it didn't retain its healing powers, it did gain invincibility, which is pretty cool. This idea carries over into the Tangled series. Personally, I'd be a little annoyed if I had to deal with that much hair again. It would just be so frustrating to me. 20. He's a man of many names. I think all of us were a bit surprised to find out that the roguish Flynn Rider was actually named Eugene Fitzherbert. I'd probably change my name too. Eugene is nice and all, but it doesn't have the same swashbuckling ring as Flynn Rider. But did you know that Eugene wasn't originally going to be his name either? Flynn's real name was going to be Bastian. In the early days of writing this movie, Flynn's real name was going to be Bastian. Was he originally going to be French? Because Bastian is a very French name, and apparently he was going to be a bit bulkier in body shape, more like the Stabbington brothers. But his character went through a few rewrites and we got Eugene Fitzherbert, aka Flynn Rider. I think I prefer Eugene over Bastian. Eugene seems to fit him a bit better.
Okay, Max. Let's see how fast.
21. Rapunzel's baby mobile predicted things would be happened. In the opening scene where Rapunzel is still a baby, we see her in the crib looking up at the baby mobile. Well, that mobile is a hint to what the princess is going to go through. A green chameleon and a white horse are pretty explanatory. That's Maximus and Pascal. A bluebird and Cupid both appear during the musical scenes of When Will My Life Begin? And I've Got a Dream. And last but not least, a duck that symbolizes the Snuggly Duckling. 22. The original idea was a lot different. When Rapunzel Unbraided was announced, it was pitched as a Shrek-style film, which is to say, an irreverent fairy tale. At least partially, Eisner pitched the movie as set in modern San Francisco. Initially, two San Francisco teens, Claire and Vince, were going to be transported into the Rapunzel fairy tale as Rapunzel and Prince Beau, respectively. 23. The film still turned a profit, though. That massive budget had to have Disney worried. In the end, Tangled pulled through. It made $200.8 million domestically and $391.6 million internationally. All in all, it earned $592.5 million worldwide, enough to make it the 8th highest grossing film of 2010 a success.
Well, maybe you should be back in your town.
24. There's a sequel, sort of. In 2012, we got something of a sequel to Tangled. It just happened to be a short film attached to a 3D re-release of Beauty and the Beast instead of a feature-length film. Tangled Ever After is a 6-minute short that focuses on the wedding of Rapunzel and Eugene, also known as Flynn. 25. There was also a TV movie and a TV series. In 2017, the Disney Channel aired a made-for-TV movie called Tangled Before Ever After. The film takes place between Tangled and Tangled Ever After. It was primarily designed to serve as a pseudo-pilot to a new TV series, though. Tangled, the series, renamed Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure, aired for 3 seasons and 60
A wise
episodes.
person once told me,
Rapunzel's journey is more than just an escape from a tower. It's a story about courage, hope, and discovering who you truly are. From taking her first step into the outside world to trusting her heart and choosing her own path, her adventure shows us that even the smallest act of bravery can change your entire life. Tangled reminds us that dreams aren't just meant to be wished for, they're meant to be lived. And now I want to hear from you. Comment below which Disney movie you want me to explore next, and I'll bring it to life in an upcoming video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.